evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City of Milwaukee. I am Bevan Baker. I'm the Health Commissioner for the City of Milwaukee, and I greet you and welcome you on behalf of our Mayor, the Honorable Tom Barrett, to this reception and to our city. Let me first say to Your Excellency, it is great to have you back in our city of Milwaukee. And on behalf of the Mayor, we welcome you. To members of the delegation, to all of those seated at this dais, thank you. Thank you for being here. And then to all of my brothers and sisters from the Nigerian community, thank you. Thank you for being here. I've been given the task of welcoming you on behalf of our great city, and this is my second time in the presence of His Excellency. Here's what I know. I know that 170 million people makes Nigeria the most populous nation in the continent of Africa. I know that there are 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria. I know that there are 380 languages within Nigeria. I know that there is a diverse range of culture, beliefs, religion. But here's what I've learned in 2 times of meeting His Excellency. And I'll tell you a brief story. 3 years ago, my own daughter was a delegate to the UN. And as a child, she had the opportunity to write about a leader and to testify at the UN for students. The leader she chose is His Excellency. I didn't give her help, but I did want to read what she had to write. She chose His Excellency because she wanted a strategist. She chose His Excellency because she wanted someone with presence. She chose His Excellency because of the future of the continent of Africa. What I have learned is that, Your Excellency, you have a global reach strong enough to capture the minds of the world, but yet gentle enough to hold our hearts. And that's what my daughter learned as well. It is very few people in the world that are strong enough to hold everyone, but gentle enough to care for everyone, and that is you. The other thing that I will say is that I have a small child who's 6 years old, who was born on the continent of Africa. And he's a boy who I flew some 20,000 miles to get here. I worry about him every day, as every father worries about their son. I worry about what type of world will he grow in. I worry, will he understand the roots of his existence? Will he understand the powerful continent that he was born in? And then I met His Excellency. It is your work that is affecting every child in every nation. It is your work that allows my son, an African, to one day go back to that continent, to understand that he must act locally and think globally. It is your work that has my 15-year-old daughter considering me as a superstar by meeting you. It is your work that will change the world. And with that said, it is an honor, and there are many duties that I carry out in my role as Health Commissioner of this great city. And there's none greater than opening the doors of our city and offering a great welcome to someone that is changing generations of boys and girls around the world. Human security begins with harnessing the minds and hearts of children, and that is what His Excellency is about. And for that, my family, my city, my state, my nation, and this world will be better. And for that, I'm forever grateful. And with that, I want to welcome to the podium the Honorable Joe Davis, Alderman of the 2nd District, to welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker. First of all, I think, let's give Baba a standing ovation. He has blessed this city by being in this historical building, and Baba, we are eternally grateful to have you in our presence. I do want to recognize my, my esteemed colleague. He is the City of Milwaukee Treasurer, first elected in that position as an African American, former State Senator Spencer Cox. Now, to the business at hand. You know, there's only a certain time that you come across a leader. We call it swag here in the United States, that has that charisma, that has that presence, that is honorable, and most importantly, that has integrity. Now, some of you may disagree with it. I don't. I agree with it, because there's one thing that I can tell you about Baba. When he had an opportunity to think about himself, he put country first. You remember when there was military rule. You remember when he had an opportunity to stay as the president, but he gave it over to civilian rule. God blessed him to serve in his capacity as a civilian, and that is what true leadership is all about. You know, there comes a time when someone, an African, influenced the world. We know that Madiba, President Mandela, passed away. We know that Madiba shaped the globe in his example to humanity. This is the same legend that we have before us now. The United States has a history, and African leaders also have a history of making sure that Africans come first. So our history, we have FDR, we have JFK, we have MLK, but today we have OBJ. Baba, it is like a sun who is beaming and smiling in his inner soul, thanking you for the blessings and your leadership, inspiring those of us who are African Americans, who know the history of the African continent, and know that it is not an easy deal to change the wrong to right. And for that, we are eternally grateful for your leadership, sir. I would like to, at this particular time, introduce a very special person who made all of this happen. And if I have not introduced him, I would be remiss. Chukwuka, the Dean of Health Sciences over at UWM, has done an excellent job on forging a relationship on behalf of the City of Milwaukee. We work together very closely because we understand that 900 million consumers on the continent of Africa will be a global player. Whether the world wants it or not, it's going to happen. And so we understand that. And it is good to have a native brother from Nigeria move this initiative along. And those of us who believe in that initiative, we understand that there is a support mechanism that we need to put in place so that when these relationships are forged, it is so important for us to move forward in a disciplined way. So with that being said, I would like to introduce our good friend, a good friend of the City of Milwaukee, and a son of Nigeria, Mr. Chukwuka Mweka.
Commissioner Baker, Adam and Davis, Your Excellency, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and our visitors from all over the country and also from Nigeria. I'm greatly honored to be here to introduce once again His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. But I do not want to make the same mistake that I made this morning by not first recognizing those who have been working behind the scenes to make this visit a huge success. So I'm going to start off, first of all, by thanking Alderman Davis and Commissioner Baker for being two pillars beside me that have supported me all along, together with a host of other individuals from the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. Standing behind there is Patrick Kasenik. Everybody that has been with us all this time knows that Patrick has been with us since about 5 o'clock this morning, and he's going to be here till whenever the program is over today. And he has been all over the place on the phone, texting, emailing, and doing all the due diligence that needs to be done in order to make this a huge success. So Patrick, thank you so very much. There are so many other individuals that have put their hands together to make this a highly successful visit. Many of them are not here, so this evening when we convene for dinner, I will hopefully remember to thank them. And there is another pillar that stands beside me all the time, without whom I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And that's my wife, Roslyn. She's sitting somewhere. She's over there. So I'm very grateful to her for her patience and for giving me the opportunity to do this. His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo doesn't need too much introduction in the world. We have already introduced him a few times today. So I'm going to try to be as brief as I can, because I know many of you have heard his introduction before, and you're hearing it for a second or third time, or even a fourth time. We have here in our midst, here in Milwaukee, very eminent personality that is known all over the world, has been a guest of virtually every important world leader, certainly every democracy that exists on this planet, has hosted him as a special guest. We have in our midst someone who has served his country the longest as head of state or president than any other person living or dead in Nigeria. We have in our midst someone who ranks together with George Washington as someone who has been battle-tested, victorious war general, and certainly the hero of the Nigerian Biafran War, because it was to him that the documents of surrender were given. We have in our midst someone who, realizing that the military wasn't going to go away any easy, and when they finally realized that civilian rule, democracy wasn't going to return to Nigeria upon the end of the Civil War, waited patiently. When he got the chance, he became head of state. First thing he did was to announce a program of return to democracy. He needed time to put in place the institutions of democracy. He didn't just want to transition automatically to a democratic rule, because that would have meant setting up a democracy that would fail. He needed 3 years to write a new constitution. He wrote up a new constitution, laid the plans for a general election, and one of the things that I don't often remember to say, which most Nigerians know very well, is that after the general election, there was a dispute as to who won the presidency. His kinsman, the same tribe as himself, was said to have won. But somebody else from the northern part of Nigeria also claimed to have won that election. As head of state, he had a chance to influence the outcome. No. He said, let the courts decide. When the courts decided, he handed over power voluntarily for the very first time on the continent of Africa, where military rule is so prevalent. Military general voluntarily handed over power to an elected president, not his kinsman, but to Alhaji Shehu Shagari, whom most of you know. And this was in 1979. Retired, went into farming. You heard him this morning talk about how he started poultry farming, and he and his wife didn't know whether they would make it, right? They had to borrow money from the banks and all that, got the farm going, and now I can tell you one thing about Chief Obasanjo that many people don't know. On July 26th, I happened to be in the company of one of my cousins who said, why don't we go to Liberia for the Liberian Independence Day? They invited him and he said, and I've already talked to Mr. Tubman, who's a very good friend of ours. Two of us are very good friends of Tubman. Tubman comes from the Tubman family in Liberia. They ruled Liberia for so many years. It's okay, fine. So we went and for the Independence Day celebration. There I learned that Baba didn't just set up farming in Nigeria and all over Nigeria, by the way, but also in Liberia. He extended his poultry farm to Liberia because after the Civil War, there was so much hunger and starvation. The people till now are not quite able to feed themselves. But I tell you the joke that I learned from my visit to Liberia. The joke now is that they have so much chicken in Liberia that Kentucky Fried Chicken has moved in. So now you go to Liberia and then you find Kentucky Fried Chicken and Burger King and all these fast food places setting up shops. That shouldn't come as a surprise because, as many of you know, Liberia used to be, it was set up by the United States. Okay, so it isn't surprising that US corporations would go there and start businesses. So Baba stayed as a farmer, and then all of a sudden, things started going bad again. The military boys came back, took over power in Nigeria, and handed from one person to the next, and coup after coup, and eventually we had the notorious regime of Sani Abacha. People were disappearing overnight. No one could speak. There was terror in the land. Baba was one of the few that spoke up, and he spoke up so openly. And Abacha shamefully failed to acknowledge the fact that here is a superior officer of his, but sent his boys to arrest him. He spent about 4 years in prison for speaking up against a tyrannic government. And as Baba said in one of his write-ups, he knew somehow the spiritual realm revealed to him that he was going to come out. He would come out, but he wasn't going to come out under Abacha's rule. He was going to come out under another leader's rule. And that's what exactly happened. Abacha was removed, died in office actually, so to speak. And then the next person promptly came in and released Baba from prison, and immediately began to set up for democratic rule. And guess who Nigerians reached out to now become their new president? Was Baba himself. He was elected president and re-elected president, and again, in this respect, became the first person in Nigeria ever to be elected and re-elected president of that country. In leaving the prison yard to become president, he joined the ranks of Nelson Mandela, whom many of us are going to celebrate tomorrow night. His life, the legacy he left behind for all of us, the legacy of forgiveness and forbearance. And at this point, I just say, may his soul rest in peace. We know that he has fulfilled his mission here on earth, and he's returned to his good Lord. Baba joins that rank as only two people that I know. There might be others, but the only two I know that rose from being prisoner to becoming president of a nation. Baba's achievements as president and head of state are innumerable. Are we going to talk about universal primary education that he instituted in Nigeria? Or are we going to talk about the fact that he came in as president and one of the first things he did was to return all the private schools that were taken over by the military to their individual owners? He said it was so wrong for the military to take over schools that didn't belong to government. He returned those schools to their individual owners. Is it the Nigerian economy that now everybody talks about, and then we have a lot of foreign direct investment going into Nigeria that we should be talking about? When he was in power, that economy was growing at 7.5, 7.6% from year to year. One of the fastest growing GDPs in the world. And it remains so till today, even though it now grows at 6.6%. Are we going to talk about his leadership of the African organization that is now promoting good governance in all of Africa, that has now resulted in the fact that sub-Saharan Africa is one of the fastest growing regions of the world with 4.6% GDP growth from year to year? Is it his reorganization of the military in Nigeria and his promotion, his effort at the African Union to pass rules and regulations that will stem the tide of military coups that we're going to be talking about? Where are we going to start to enumerate all the achievements that Baba was able to accomplish in his office? Is it his fight against corruption that led to the establishment of the EFCC, which is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and ICPC, and a host of other governmental agencies that were set up to fight crime and fraud? How many people have been put in jail for corruption since he left office, compared to the number of people that were persecuted and jailed, were found guilty when he was in office? So, we can't quite begin to name and list all of his accomplishments. The fact that he's the first president on that continent to leave office and now established a presidential library, something that the continent never knew about, they heard about it. It was a foreign thing to them. It was something that happened in the United States to them, not on the continent of Africa. Is it his establishment of a Center for Human Security? A center that is so vibrant, they publish 4 journals every year and a book every year since it started operation. They host an annual conference, international conference, to which the provost of UWM, myself, a couple of other deans plan to attend this coming March. How about the UNESCO Institute that he set up also? Actually, he set up the Institute for African Culture and International Understanding, and then the UNESCO now has come to partner with the library to promote the understanding of African culture. We could also talk about the Olusegun Obasanjo Foundation, which is based in London, with 4 major themes. Education of young girls, not women, young girls. because you really have to start early, because those cultural barriers that limit women actually start acting upon them when they're really very young. Human security, amelioration of non-communicable diseases, and of course, promotion of African culture and international understanding of that culture. These are very laudable goals that Baba has devoted himself to. He's traveled all over the world to promote world peace, to ensure democracy, to promote democracy by monitoring elections all over the world. There's just so many for us to begin to enumerate. So I'm going to try and stop here and give him enough time to speak to you. But I want to just end on this note. There are not too many people who have reached the pinnacle of success in life that I know to be as humble and as down to earth as Baba himself is. He is so free with everybody. He doesn't go with a retinue of security men anywhere. He doesn't isolate himself from the masses and from the people. He's always in the midst of the people. He really enjoys having people around him at all times. He flies commercial, just like you and I. He doesn't own a private jet of his own. Most of you, I don't know if you've been to Nigeria lately, go to one of those airports in Abuja. They have hundreds of private jets lined up. You go to the airport in Lagos, the same thing. He doesn't own any of those. It's always with the people. So, as I said, I'm going to stop right here, and please join me in giving a very, very big Milwaukee welcome to Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. Bye-bye.
Please be seated. Commissioner Baker, Alderman Davis, let me say, brothers and sisters, I thank all of you for being here this evening. But let me thank you, Commissioner Baker, for the wonderful remark you made about me. And Alderman Davis, let me thank you for those sweet words. Let me express my sympathy and the sympathy of members of my delegation to the mayor for his being indisposed and for the operation that he has. Please convey to him our heartfelt sympathy. Let me thank Chukwuka for the beautiful words and remarks that you have said about me. Commissioner Baker and Alderman Davis, in thanking you and thanking the city authority for honoring me. I want to say this: I accept this honor on behalf of my own country, Nigeria, because yes, I'm here being honored, but if Nigeria has not been there to produce me, I will not be here to be honored. So, for me, it is an honor to my country through me. And I thank you most sincerely for it. I was asking how the city operates. And I was asking that because of what I have seen of this vibrant and lovely city. A city of about 700,000 inner city and about 1.5 or million or thereabout with metropolitan. Medium-sized city, they're doing big thing. Medium-sized city, showing the way. One of the things that we always hear and learn about this country is that it is a melting pot. But here in Milwaukee, you see a melting pot in practice and at work. I want to thank you for the hospitality and the accommodation that you have given to Nigerians in particular, but Africans in general who have moved into this city in the recent past. To learn, to acquire education, experience, and knowledge, to be part and parcel of resources of this city and this country, and for those who have returned to Africa, who are making major contribution in their own country. I'm, in a way, a beneficiary of that hospitality because I sent a kid cousin of mine here, and after acquiring education, he came back home. And now at home is making meaningful contribution, not only to the development of Nigeria there in Abuja, but also helping in shaping our own extended family through the contribution that it's making. So even for that, I thank this city, and I thank UWM, because that was the university that nurtured him. I talk of a medium-sized city with a big heart, and a medium-sized city that is doing a big thing. You are noted because of the lake. You are noted as capital of the world water. Water capital of the world. And I want to elaborate a little bit on this. Somebody said to me, if there will be another world war, what do I think will cause it? I said, maybe food. He said, no, you are wrong. He said, it is water. The Egyptians said they will not go to war for anything except for the Nile water. And what this city stands for as water capital of the world is significant for the world. And I hope by the contribution of this city to fresh water, particularly, you may be helping us to avert our Third World War. Take note of that. Because we need to think of availability, adequacy of water for the burgeoning population of the world, not only in this century, but in the century to come. But that's not all. As a medium-sized city doing big things, you have big corporation headquarters here. Rockwell, I never knew until I came here that Rockwell is headquartered here. I see Rockwell everywhere in the world. And a company for system automation. That is very good. Harley Davidson, one of the largest motorcycle makers in the world, headquarters here. Johnson Control for renewable energy, headquarters here. And I learned a lesson from this, that to attract world corporation or world large companies, you don't necessarily have to be the biggest cities of the world. You only have to be the welcome city of the world. And that is what the city has been. A welcome, a city ready to welcome those corporate organizations. Let me again, as Alderman Davis mentioned, and as I've mentioned in my address in the morning at the UWM. Woman who is undisputedly a world leader of no mean order. In this century is Nelson Mandela, who just passed on. I met him. I know him. I interacted with him. I respected him. But really, what has he done? Succinctly, he was persistent. For what he believed in, and he saw it through, no matter the sacrifices that he had to make. And at the end of the day, he showed us great example of humanity, of humaneness, of forgiveness, and of forbearance. For all of us, whether we live in the US or anywhere in Africa, I believe these qualities are the qualities that we must cherish, we must imbibe. Because if we have quality of humanity and humaneness, the world will be made a worthy place to live for all of us and for the generation coming after us. Thank you for honoring me. I thank you for honoring my country. I thank you for honoring Africa. And let me say this, the more I come to this city, the more I love it. The more I appreciate what this city is doing for its own residents and is doing for the world. Let me end on this note. Never be tired of doing good for your own people, of being hospitable to those who come in to receive from you so that they can give. And don't let up in making this city water capital of the world in such a way that it may serve to prevent a war anywhere in the world that will be initiated on the basis of water. Thank you very much for honoring me.
Thank you, Baba, for those inspiring words. President Obasanjo is going to have to head to another event, but before he does, Baba, if you will give me the opportunity, if I don't do this, I may get myself into trouble, so I have to acknowledge my wife, my Gugu, who has supported me in these last couple of days. Thank you. At this particular time, if I may ask all of the members of the Nigerian community here in Milwaukee to meet me over in this area here for a special picture with Baba, because you play a big role here in Milwaukee representing Nigeria. I know this. We have a very close working relationship, and I congratulate you on your organization and representing Nigeria to receive Baba and just to anyone retaining the Nigerian culture. So the President, T.O. Ayesele, if I can have you here along with your members, and before Baba leaves, we'd like to get a formal photo with you because we understand how important it is for you to have that opportunity.